Doing a quick little help video for folks that have a 2012 through 2018 Ford Focus, or even if you've got a Ford Fiesta, you probably have the same issue. If you've got a transmission shuttering, where it basically kind of goes back and forth, or it has issues going in reverse sometimes, this is a little video that'll show you some of the components that I've changed out on this 2012 Ford Focus to kind of relieve some of those issues. So we'll start up here. Basically, some of the components are, there's some actuator right there. There's two of these on the vehicle. There's one up top, and then you've got the transmission control module. That's really the one that goes out and causes a lot of the issues. But again, these are the components that I went ahead and switched out to kind of help relieve this issue from happening from this particular vehicle, and maybe for future. So again, if you remove the air intake box, which is that right there, it's pretty easy to remove. Just take off the mass airflow sensor connector, disconnect it from the throttle body, and then it'll basically pop up. I did disconnect the battery as well while I was working on it. So that actuator is the original one. I have not removed it, but you can see it's basically 4 little bolts holding it on there to be able to remove. Now, what I actually use is a quarter right there, this little quarter guy, and it goes onto the nut real nice and snug. So they're right there, and they're not on there very tight, so you should be able to ease it off of there pretty easy. So again, 2 components up top. You can see you've got the actuator there, and you've got the transmission control module. It has 2 big fat plugs that come off, and it's got 10mm bolts. There's one here, there's one towards the inside there, and there's some from the middle and on the bottom as well, and that basically just holds that on there. Let me show you on the bottom. You've got an actuator down here as well. Now that's the new one right there that I went ahead and changed out already. And then you've got another view of the transmission control module right there. What I'm actually doing on this particular car as well is I went ahead and drained the fluid. So you've got a drain plug right there that you basically loosen off with, I think, a 5/16. And you've got a filler plug way up top right over there. So if you got the car leveled, once you drain the fluid right there, of course, catch it, put the plug back on, and then you can drain the add the fluid through there. And I'll show you some of the tools that I use to get that done. So you got the second actuator, as I mentioned, and you got the transmission control module right there as well. So let me show you real quick. So this is the little apparatus that I use to put that fluid in there, because it's pretty difficult to get into it. You basically do it from the side right here, and you can kind of see it, the little plug right way in the back over there, way right there. And so you get the fluid together, and you'll be able to reach over in there and squeeze it and get the fluid inside there, and you basically pump it until you got enough fluid to where it starts filling out. So what I ended up using about 1.5 quarts, and I would recommend getting this Ford dual clutch transmission fluid, because this is what it calls for. This stuff is kind of expensive, but you can get it online or at your local parts store. So again, so let me show you. I got the transmission out from another vehicle, and I can kind of show you some of the components we're talking about. So you've got the top actuator right there. Now this is the dual clutch system. This one's been sitting out for a while, that's why it's so rusted looking and so forth. But the way it's set up in your vehicle is right here like this. So this would be where the motor is. You've got the top actuator, and on the side right here you've got the transmission control module, and then you've got the lower actuator right down there. So again, you've got the drain plug will be in the bottom, and I don't want to flip it because there may be a little bit of fluid. And then you've got the filler plug right there on that backside where the axle goes into it, so to top off the fluid. So again, if you got an issue with your transmission on your Ford Focus, I think from 2012 through 2018, or even the Ford Fiesta, I recommend changing out those components. Again, the actuator right there, you can get those for about 50-55 bucks a piece. And then you've got the transmission control module that would sit right there. Now those are a little bit more difficult to get. The one I installed here came out of a different car that was wrecked. It's got about 20,000 miles on that particular car. So that transmission control module is a used one, but very low mileage vehicle. And again, the actuators, I'd recommend getting new ones. They're pretty affordable, because these the transmission control modules, a lot of these guys are on back order. So again, if you've got a car that shutters, has issues going reverse, I recommend changing out those components, and that should help you with that problem. Now, once you do the transmission control module, you will have to get the dealer or some service repair facility to reset it, to do a relearn procedure on it. They use a handheld. They can just do it on the rack, and basically be able to get it going. So if you put in a new one, you could probably take it to the dealership and get them to program, and just tell them you don't need to program, relearn procedure, and they should be able to get it done for you and not charge you that much. But if you take your car to the dealer having this issue, a lot of times they'll tell you they want the whole transmission rebuilt, which will basically involve them taking out those clutches and so forth, and that's a lot of parts and labor. I mean, you could spend anywhere between $2,200 to $2,800 just to have those clutch components and so forth changed out. But really the culprit in this issues is the transmission control module, which is the one on the side there. And they're back order because they're just having so many issues with them. But if you can find one at a dealership or get a really low mileage one, then recommend getting that changed out. So again, I'm not a mechanic or anything like that. It's just an information video. So hopefully that helps you to get you going and realize what some of the components are and how to access them. Pretty easy to do. I mean, you can probably change out this actuator, the one on the bottom, drain your fluid, install a used or a new transmission control module, maybe 2 hours tops. So really, if you're just kind of getting at it, you could do it pretty quickly. All the components are pretty easy to get to, and fairly minimal amount of tools. I'm basically using just a little ratchet set. And again, you got this guy here that you're going to need to use to gain access to the drain plug and also the fill plug. And this is a 5/16. It's hard to get that to zoom in, but again, a 5/16 to get that to loosen up the drain plug and get you going. So hopefully that was a helpful video. Got any questions, give me a shout, let me know. All right, thanks.